Okay.
So we have 7:30. Jim is joining us.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and call the meeting, September meeting of the Huntington Woods Historic District Commission to order. You all should have either received by email or a hard copy of the agenda with the application. You would not have received the minutes. Hank will get those to us as soon as they're complete.
Yeah, we'll get them at the next meeting. We're going to go in a different direction for how we're handling those, other than what I was provided with this time.
Okay, so the first thing I need is a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll move for that.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Could we, Madam Chair, if we could, when we do vote, could we ask for a roll call vote? Just so that we have a record of who voted what?
Okay, please say your name when you vote. So all we have before us is just one application.
Right, but you got to get a vote on the agenda.
I thought we just did that. Oh, all those in favor? All those in favor say aye and state your name. Louise, yes?
Chris, yes. Yes.
Martha, yes.
Stephen, yes.
Jim, yes.
Robert?
Robert, yes.
Kevin?
Yep.
Support to approve the agenda as presented?
Yep.
Okay.
Madam Chair, then we would need a motion to defer the minutes until the next regular meeting.
Okay. May I have a motion to defer the minutes from the June 30th meeting till a later date, next meeting?
I'll move that we defer the minutes until the next meeting.
I'll second.
That's Chris.
Steve.
All those in favor? Louise? Yep.
Martha, yes.
Robert, yes.
Kevin, yes.
Stephen, yes.
Chris, yes.
And Jim, I saw at the same time. Okay.
Okay. Are we good to go?
You're good.
Okay. Then thank you all for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of the meeting. It's nice to have a great representation of so many commissioners at this meeting tonight. We have one application before us with the Chambin residence at 26323 Henry. You may have all driven by this house. It's next door to Huntington Woods Commissioner Jules Olsman. It is a contributing resource to the Hill Historic District. There are two things under consideration tonight. The first one is a driveway, which we'll address first, and then the other is a matter of replacement of windows. So Dr. Shaman, if you want to, Leo, if you want to go ahead and explain what it is that you want to do with your driveway.
Yeah, so as if you guys can, I think you guys should have received photos or, but as you can tell, when you drove by the house, you know, the driveway is in complete, you know, disarray. It's very, there was previous roots there and everything. The leveling is completely off. As you can see, a lot of our landscaping is quite damaged with the grass just because of how irregular the driveway is, which makes it very challenging to come out when we're pulling out our cars in the morning. So we're looking, you know, to having it, you know, replaced. And what we are proposing is to essentially make it aligned with our actual garage. As you can see, how the current driveway is, it's kind of patched. I don't know how, you know, how they put it together originally, but there's various segments, and it's very asymmetrical, kind of non-practical, and it creates a lot of just asymmetry and so forth. And it makes it very challenging to get in and out. So what we're really proposing is kind of just simplifying it. If you look at our essentially garage, just kind of making 2 straight lines just from each end and kind of going all the way down. And that's kind of what we're just to kind of make a simple driveway in that sense.
Okay. Hank?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could maybe help out with a little bit of description to it. There are portions of the driveway that were altered over a period of time, some with different materials, some with different textures, certainly not all the original concrete. What's happened over a period of time is the concrete's deteriorated, there's cracking, spalling, there's spots of asphalt that were mixed in with this for that. I'd like to put up a diagram to show you, see if I can get this to work. Can everybody see that?
See you.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so what you see here, can you see my cursor as I'm moving it?
Yep.
Okay, this area in through here is a completely different material than this, which appears also different than this. This right here is a sidewalk and approach that was replaced by the city when it went through the road program. So what he basically would like to do is, if you can see the lines here from the edge of the garage down and flaring out, and from this edge down and flaring out. At no point will he come within 6 feet of a tree as required by code. The driveway as proposed meets the city code, but it will substantially help as far as not only aesthetic appearance, but also practicality. Some of the driveway is heaved, some of the asphalt areas, the other areas have heaved, and as a result, you also have trip hazards. So what Dr. Shamban is proposing is that he just simply wants to take it out, put it in a straight row, you know, as it heads towards the street. You will be losing part of this area over here, which was not part of the original concrete anyway. So that will be leaving, and this will be more in conformity to what was originally supposed to be there. So basically that's what he has going on in a nutshell. He's going to be redoing the approach. He's not going to be redoing the curb, but he'll be redoing the approach, because what we did was that back when we did this, we had put in what's called a rolled curb. And the reason for that is it allows people driveway replacements, stuff like that, without having to have curb issues or curb replacements. And it tends to add a little bit more to longevity. And we found that that's the type of curb that we prefer in the city of Huntington Woods, where the issue is not the curb, it's the street, and it's the same, it's the right of way. If you have any questions, I'm sure that either Dr. Shamban or I would be happy to answer them. The standards I did put in there so you could see what it is, but there's really no change. There's no change in the use. There's no change in the historic character of the property. None of this was original anyway. And the properties that change over time, that concrete with the asphalt would not have done that. The distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques, this wasn't even really, with all due respect, a well-done driveway. So the quality of the materials hopefully would end up being better than that. Chemical and physical treatments don't apply, archaeological resources don't apply, and new additions or alterations, it would really have no effect or adverse effect on the structure. And as far as differentiating new work from old, it's the driveway, so it's not something that's likely to come into a problem with that. And then for 10, you could remove it, but I'm not sure why you would ever do that. But that's where we're at. I mean, the bottom line is it's cracking up. It's not in regular configuration. And this would actually not hurt the impact or the value of the property, at least in our representation. You folks certainly discuss among yourselves.
I have a question. Will they be replacing the sidewalk blocks as well, or will they be working around that?
Which sidewalk blocks are you referring to?
Well, your driveway meets the sidewalk blocks and then the apron meets on the other side. The sidewalk blocks are like a standardized size that the city put in. It'd be the area where the sidewalk is.
They're gonna have to replace 2 more than the 2 that are in the driveway right now, because to be in a driveway, it requires it to be a 6-inch pour,
Right.
and these are a 4-inch pour. So, except for the one that's there now. So there'll have to be a total of a minimum of 2 replaced, unless they can do it without damaging.
No, we will plan on, I budget, my plan is to replace those, you know, completely, you know, like the full
Those
shape.
4.
So, yeah.
Okay. Robert, do you have any questions for Dr. Shaman?
I do, thank you. Has any consideration been made to use a porous material which would allow for rainwater to be absorbed by the concrete and filtered in to the ground table, taking pressure off the...
Yeah, let me show you what you should throw. You should throw that stupid ice. It's already melted with water. Let me show you.
I'm sorry, I don't, porous material and using a different material, I'm a little confused.
There are porous concretes available which allow for rainwater to flow through the concrete into the ground, which alleviates a tremendous amount of the rainwater from going into our already overburdened sewer system. They're called non-porous concretes.
No, I wasn't, I did not consider that. I mean, I don't, no, I honestly, I did not consider that, so.
Is it something you would consider? It's not required by code, it's just a good thing to.
I mean, is that what other people are using in the city? Or I don't know, I guess I'm not a driveway. I mean, is that what other people are using, or?
There are a host of other materials that people have been using.
Is he in the back? Is he in the front of our house?
No, he's not in the front of our house. This is just the background. No, I mean, I can definitely consider it, and I can definitely get bids for that. I'm not.
Is he at our house?
I'm not tied to that, but no, we did not consider that.
I would suggest that for the purposes of the discussion that he is proposing to use standard concrete. So if there's something other than that, I mean, that's different. They would have to do that. What's in front of the board this evening is a standard concrete, just a standard regular PSI mix, 6-bag, 6-sack mix.
That's my only question.
Okay, Mark, do you have any questions?
I just have one. The diagram I see shows the driveway being widened and the approach as well. Are you planning to replace the entire approach or just add on to the signs?
I am planning. Wait, you mean at the bottom?
Yeah, from sidewalk to the curb, he's going to end up replacing that completely.
He is going to replace that completely.
He's going to have to. The DPW is not going to let him put a little strip on that.
Okay, because I have an experience where I've widened my approach by adding on to it, and now all the different pieces are
Right.
screwed up at different levels.
Right. That's why the DPW is not letting anybody do that any longer.
Okay, Jim, do you have any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay, Kevin?
The red area that's out there, is that just going to be grassed over then? The bit that you're going to be losing, is that, or otherwise I'm assuming it will be 2 different types of concrete then again.
So that's an excellent question, and what we're thinking of doing, and I don't know if I should have brought it up at this meeting or a next meeting, is possibly putting in you know, kind of like either like a brick paver or either, I haven't decided yet, or like a
Okay,
stone.
that's not what's before there. So if this is changing, that's not going to work.
No,
'cause
no, but
put in
he
more than what
asked me,
proposed.
what am I putting at that area? But I'm,
Yeah,
no,
my understanding is it was coming out.
correct. It is coming out. I'm not putting, all right, after. Sorry. No, that is coming out.
Is
That
it
is
gonna
coming
be
out.
grass?
I'm sorry?
Is it gonna be grass then?
Possibly, or versus brick pavers, or we haven't decided that. Does that need to be finalized, or I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we have the plan. We can
All right.
talk about that when you have the plan. Right now, we'll just concentrate on the driveway in front of us right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but you are going to do something else with it, I think is the.
Yes. Whether does that need to be? I guess does landscaping need to be approved by the I mean, what is considered? I guess I'm not sure. Do I need to add whether I do grass or I put brick pavers? Is that considered?
Madam Chair, if I could interject for just a second to help for clarification. It's our understanding, it's staff understanding that what's happening is that's coming out and going back to grass. If he wants to do anything else with it, he would have to come back. Changing paving, rerouting is exactly why he's here. So what we did is that this is what was noticed. If he wants to exceed the notification, it'll have to go back at a different meeting. So we can't, I'm not sure, so we may do something. It has to be definite. You can approve the sidewalk as shown per the plan in, with the blue lines, but to say, unless you can make a motion for something specific there, other than that, that's not what's before this evening.
No, and I think that he's just, answering the question. They will do something different with it. More information is better than less. So when you have a plan for what you want to do with that, bring it back to us. But right now, let's just get everybody's questions answered regarding the driveway that's in front of us right now, if that's okay. Kevin, do you have any other questions?
No other questions on the driveway.
Okay, Steve, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Hank, is there any way to determine what the original driveway looked like? I mean, even what we're looking at here, we have no way of knowing whether or not that's what was there when the house was built.
I do not have a plan that shows the original driveway.
Because it's such an unusual shape, it's hard to believe that anybody would have planned that initially anyways.
It is, but it also, I take a look at it and I see what they've done to the right, like where the flare in the driveway up towards the middle ends, and they've added that section in there. I'm going to guess that they found out pretty quickly that they were driving all over the lawn, and that's how that one came into play. So, that happened when the Frankels owned it. It wouldn't be something that Dr. Shamban has added to that. So it's been there for years and years and years. But I don't have anything showing what the original driveway is like.
Okay, then what is the current code allow from driveway width?
It allows to be the width of the garage.
To the garage doors or the
garage plus 3 feet. He can have a 3-foot walkway to the inside of the garage. But the way this is designed, it's specifically designed to keep outside of the 6-foot range from the trees at the base of the driveway.
Okay, so for some reason I was thinking you could have an 18-foot driveway and then you could have a 3-foot walkway on the side. I don't know if that's changed or not.
Yeah, you can go from the garage edge to and then you can have a 3-foot walkway down the side. He's within his required space.
Okay,
It meets the zoning requirements.
So the plan, as I understand it, is that it would be where the blue lines are now, and every piece of concrete that falls within that will be replaced with new contiguous concrete. There won't be any piecing together.
Correct.
Current.
That is correct.
Other than control joints, correct.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Okay, Rick, thanks for joining us. Do you have any questions regarding the driveway?
No,
No questions?
no.
Okay. I suppose the only public participation we have is the letter of support for the driveway from his neighbor, Jules Oldman. So seeing that.
Did we hear from Chris and I missed it, or we did not?
Oh.
No, but I don't have any comments.
I didn't want.
Fell off my video.
Okay.
Sorry, Chris. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Then we'll open and close public participations, and seeing that there is none. Does anybody want to make a motion in support of the driveway as presented?
I can make a motion to approve the concrete driveway as presented.
That's Chris Vogelheim, Hank.
Yep.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Madam Chair, would you add reference what standards you're using for that, please?
I would say, Hank, you gave a great summary of all of the standards that it complies with, and it was pretty much all of them, you felt, right?
We did feel that this was not, this was an allowed improvement. It would not adversely impact the standards. We had no problem with it staff-wise.
Okay, so do you need a specific?
You can reference, somebody might want to add as it meets the intent of the standards and guidelines of the Secretary of the Interior.
As it meets the standards and guidelines of the U.S. Department of the Interior standards.
Thank you.
That's Chris. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say, call your name and your vote.
Kevin with an aye.
Stephen Behrman, aye.
Okay, Steve, Jim, yes.
Robert, I.
Robert,
Martha, aye.
Martha? Rick?
Yes.
Kevin?
Kevin already said he was the first.
Oh, he did? Okay, and I'm supportive as well.
And Chris supports it as well.
Okay, we keep forgetting Chris.
Well, Chris made the motion, so sorry, Chris, I think it's a given. Okay, thank you, sorry. Okay. Dr. Chamban, then you have your approval for your driveway.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And then we can move on to the second request, which is your windows. So I see that all we have is that little tiny drawing cut sheet on the casement windows that you're hoping to get approved. So if you could explain what it is that you're planning.
Yeah, so essentially all of our window, I mean, we only had, when we renovated the house 2 years ago now, or last year, we put in, and this is, we essentially want to put the same type of window, which is like the Pella Lifestyle series. And that's what we put in our kitchen addition when we had this approved a year ago or 2 years ago when we were renovating the house. So we would like to match, those windows for the entire, across the whole house. All of the windows, they're in pretty poor shape. A lot of them, they cannot be opened. They're essentially practically, they can't really be fixed. I guess they can be, but in a in a practical sense, it doesn't make sense to fix them. So from an efficiency standpoint and just the appearance of it, we would like to replace them with identical windows as we have in our kitchen that we got approved 2 years ago when we were renovating the house.
Okay,
Madam Chair?
yes?
Okay. From a staff perspective, we really have like a little bit of information, and there's a disconnect with this particular window replacement. I think what we've been provided with shows a cut sheet, and there's no photos of the original the windows except for the 2 that you were emailed. There's a substantive amount of windows in the house. We don't have the information regarding those. The understanding is that all the windows were trying to be replaced with casement windows, which is not the type of window that's in there currently. So the cut sheet doesn't match what's there currently or what's being proposed. And we don't have any photos, nor do I have a window sample or anything of that. So basically, from a staff perspective, I don't have enough information to weigh in on whether or not this is something that we would support, in the sense, not that staff support matters or doesn't matter, but support in the sense that I could say to you that yes, we have enough information to make a recommendation as to whether it meets the standards or not. I simply don't have that. I've had conversations with Dr. Shanban at different times, and what my suggestion is that unless you have a different opinion and are ready to make a decision tonight, is that perhaps this particular application for window replacement needs a little bit more information. I would defer to you to see if you're feeling the same way or if you have other questions that you might answer. But I don't have enough information to weigh in on this at this point in time.
Okay, yeah, it seems that we do not really have enough information to make a decision. Does anybody feel that we have enough information to make any kind of decision happen regarding the windows?
No, Rick here. Absolutely not. We don't have any information. Usually we get, a sample of the window, all that kind of stuff. We're not, we shouldn't short circuit anything on this case, and we should absolutely insist on what we insist on from everybody else.
Okay, so anybody else feel differently?
I do have a question.
Sure.
And kind of goes to where my original question went with the driveway. Hank, do we know that the windows that are in the house right now are the original windows?
We do for most of them.
And then, I walked down the street and I looked at other windows, especially in Jules's house, which is right next door from the same builder and time frame. And I am hard pressed to find really any houses on the street that have, what do you call them, up and down windows like that?
Double hung?
Double hung. It seems like every home on the block has casement windows. So I'm just wondering, that's what prompted my question. It seems like an unusual window when I look at the other houses on the block. And
going back to Dr. Shanban's original statement when he was saying that the windows were over 70 years old, that would put it time consistent with the original windows of the house.
Okay, just perusing the neighborhood, and I just noticed that it's a very unusual window given all the other windows on the block. But
so we would,
that's the question.
And going with your point, we would make the windows, similar to what's like on the block or what every other house, is doing. And again, and that's, what we did in our kitchen. We just want to make that, identical for the rest of the other windows. And again, I apologize for us being not as prepared for the window aspect. It's been very challenging to come up with a proposal because we have a hard time getting official bids from window companies because they don't want to give you a quote, or they don't want to give us the effort in giving us a quote because they don't know what's going to get approved by the historic district. And a lot of companies just say no, they don't want to do it. So that's been our challenge. So that's kind of why I apologize for not being as prepared for the window aspect. I mean, the driveway component was a lot easier, but the window, they're just like, no one wants to give us, and that's what I proposed. We're really literally proposing the identical type of windows as we had approved, 2 years ago. And again, it would be very similar to what you alluded to as what is on the block.
Now, I don't want to belabor this, and I realize this will more than likely be deferred to another meeting, but I assume you're sitting in the back of your house right now in the very lower left-hand corner.
Yep,
of my
that's
screen, I see a window. Can you just adjust your camera?
That's
Just
the window.
curious, because it's sitting right in front of us.
That's the window.
And above that, on the second story, is there another casement window that I saw or not? Can you go straight
No,
up?
so, and these are the windows right there. If you can see, those are the windows we're looking to replace.
Yeah, those are double hung, and those are traditional windows for a colonial style house, which is why you have those style windows. You have 8/8, 6/6, 2/2. That's what they put in those days. And I understand that you're new to this, and maybe you don't know, but the windows that you have, the original windows, I have windows that are 80 years old in my house. I have a 1940s brick bungalow, colonial style, not bungalow, colonial style. And 2 years ago, I had a painter come in, and he works with windows all the time like this. He came in, he scraped and sanded and recaulked and reglazed my windows, and they'll last quite a while now. So it can be repaired. It's not a lost cause. You just have to have the right person to do it. And it's not as expensive as replacement. If you're worried about energy efficiency, have you added extra insulation to your home? Because that you're going to get better insulation and energy efficiency than replacing windows.
Yeah.
So,
Jim
sorry.
Turner does those. I'm sorry, Doctor. Jim Turner does those windows. He's got a great company out of Detroit, and they've got a lot of work in the woods. They do good work.
Well, I'm sure Hank is happy to provide you with any contractors or renovation companies that would be able to help you if you're interested. I'll just point out that the window that you replace is on the back of the house. And although we do consider the whole house, the streetscape, and so you've got big picture windows and small windows. And so in this case, more information is better than less. I think that,
I guess more information in terms of what?
We want to see the window, have a good description of the window. I mean, I know that we're virtual, but a window salesperson could be in their shop, and they could join the meeting and show us what the windows look like that you're considering. So
again, I mean, I would just show you the window that I have in the kitchen. That's the kind of window that we're proposing for the entire house. I mean, they would be the exact same style, same brand, and again, that's identical to what's all my neighbors and end the street. It would not be anything different. I would not but again, I can have it more as an official proposal rather than, but I mean, I would show you the exact same thing.
Right. And although your neighbors have them, that's great, but we consider one structure at a time. So
no, I'm not, that's not what I'm saying, but
what we're trying to explain to you is that the windows are a large part of the historic appearance of the house, and for you to change the style of the window changes the appearance of the house, and then that would make it no longer the same historic structure that it is right now. So what we're trying to do is point you towards a similar style with a good quality material, and we like to see an actual example. So if you can't show one online,
okay,
you can bring in a sample to the city office and we can go in and look at it there. at our leisure, you know, if we know that it's available, Hank can let us know. I go into the city office quite frequently for different things. And I'm happy to go in and look at what you've come up with. But, you know, there's lots of windows out there with all different kinds of materials. There's fiberglass, there's wood, there's vinyl. We want to see a good quality window in the style that you have on your home, not to change the style to something that's a different architectural style altogether.
I mean, the style is very, and that's why I'm assuming, that's why it got approved.
Let me clarify just something here too, because what got clarified, what got approved was a very small kitchen bump out in the rear of the house. So it wasn't a blanket approval for either the bump out or the window to be approved for the entire house. Everything goes on a separate situation. The windows that you have, I'm going to guess that you've got at least 20 more windows in that house that you're changing or proposing to change.
That is correct.
Okay. So what would be helpful for the commission to know is how many of them now currently are double hung windows? How many are being proposed to be changed for casements? Can those windows in each individual situation, can they be repaired, or do they have to be replaced? What's wrong with them? So there's a lengthy discussion that probably would have to take place before the board would feel comfortable you know, saying wholesale that, you know, we are going to allow you to replace 25 windows with something similar to what the neighbor has. I mean, they would require some more specific information, because at the end of the day, if you say that they approve like a Pella 400 series window or something like that, or an Anderson 100, whatever it may be, that's what they would expect to see. And the mutton bar pattern would be the same. So if it's a 2 over, if it's a 4 over, whatever the mutton pattern would be, it would be expected to be replicated in the new windows. Are they simulated divided lights? Are they true divided lights? There's all kinds of different components to a window. There's sash sizes, there's rail, you know, there's rail styles. There's all different kinds of components to a window that allows them to determine whether or not this is going to be working on a consistent basis. So that's the kind of information that I believe that they're looking for. It's kind of the information that I typically look at when we get a plan. So unless somebody else has other stuff that they would rather or they want to see in addition to things like that, also the perspective, maybe photos of the 4 elevations of the house so that they can get an idea of what's going where in the scheme of things. Window manufacturers typically have tons of sample windows. If you had a window that was proposed, and the windows that you're proposing, because I know the type of window that it is not an inexpensive window. So I can pretty much promise you that they would give you a sample to leave at City Hall, which I'm happy to take custody of for the time being, and allow the board to come in and take a look at it. Also, if you're proposing changes from a double hung to a casement window, that may necessitate changes in the trim and the size and that type of thing. And those are questions that I know that those are the questions that staff has. I don't know if those are the questions the HGC might have, or they might have even more questions. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you, and perhaps the commission would weigh in on that.
Madam Chair, I have something I'd like to say, please.
Sure, Robert.
I think that we've done a slight disservice here by not explaining how we function as a Historic District Commission. And that is, we are responsible to the Secretary of the Interior, that there are standards and guidelines which we are to follow and to uphold. And if we don't follow those, we are actually in violation of principles. And it is our duty to perform to the standards set forth by the Secretary of the Interior. Window replacement, door replacement, any kind of replacement is the last choice option which we are to approve. We're always first to investigate the renovation, the restoration of said item, and encourage that, and not simple blanket replacement of items. I would encourage Dr. Shambam to investigate restoration, Detroit has become the residential restoration capital of the country. There are numerous companies out there doing beautiful window restorations, brick restoration, metal restoration, everything you can imagine. It's not a challenge as it was even 10 years ago. There are more people doing this kind of work than there is actually work for them. There are phenomenal trades available, and there are very reasonable prices available for this kind of work. The images that Dr. Shamban sent forth show some broken glazing, a broken pane. He mentioned some rotten wood. That's all very repairable. Louise, in your own house, you did enormous restoration of windows, substantially older, and they turned out beautifully. So window restoration isn't as though you're jumping into some sea of unknowns. It's very predictable and very common these days. Addressing the specific windows that were installed in this house, to place those very modern, very contemporary windows on the face of the house would contemporize the house to a degree that it would change the vital character of the house into something totally brand new and unknown. I'm not taking into consideration any other houses on the street. I'm looking at this property exclusively. That's where our focus should be, this one singular property and nothing else. That's pretty much what I have to say. Those are my thoughts.
Can I weigh in?
Sure, Mark.
I agree with what Robert says. And I would kind of like to sum up for Dr. Shamban. The purpose of the Historic District Commission is to see that the contributing resources in the historic district do not change. If you have a copy of the standards that must be met, and I assume Hank has given them to you. If not, he will. Look at standards 5 and 6. And from my point of view, the whole idea of changing from double hung to casement windows is an absolute non-starter. It violates both standards 5 and 6. And as Robert said, what we want to see preferably is restoration. And if not, if it has to go to the point of replacement, we want to see replication of the existing original windows. And that means if they're wood frame windows, we want to see wood frames on the outside. We don't care what's on the inside, but we want to see wood frames on the outside of the house of the same dimensions as the original windows and the same appearance in terms of the number of lights and so forth.
I'm a little confused. You guys keep referring to district, but you keep looking at my house individually. So I understand my house is separate, but doesn't it have to fit the character of what's surrounded by my house?
No.
That's the whole concept of district. So I'm a little confused by that.
What you need to know is the historic district is the way it is because it's represented by so many different architectural styles and some eminent architects from the era in which Huntington Woods was initially settled. And part of a district is that you maintain the integrity of each individual house in that district. This is not a suburban like Wabeek where everything looks the same.
I get that.
There was a rule where they weren't
I'm totally in agreement with that.
There was a rule they weren't allowed to have the same style house on the same block. They couldn't repeat the same house on the same block, and that held true for many years until we got into World War II, and then they started building smaller houses, many of the same design. But no, the district is the reason our district is such a strong district is because of the variety of different styles that were built representing different time periods.
Can I ask a question?
So
on your street, how many houses has this commission allowed to replace their windows? Not renovate or repair. Just on that street, how many houses have had that?
Probably off the top of my head, I'm going to say in that section of Hendry, I'm going to say probably 5.
And how many of those are different to the original style of windows in that house?
They're not.
None.
Not that I would think. Maybe there may be an occasional window in a structure, but I don't recall there ever being a wholesale window change where you take out all double hungs and put casements in. I don't recall.
But
No,
our
almost
house is
exclusively,
identical.
when people come to us for window replacements, they look like the ones they're taking out. So you really can't tell, you know, other than the energy efficiency and all of that kind of stuff which the homeowner will get to take advantage of. Though we usually pretty much stick to our guns about having the windows replicate the ones that are already there.
Can I bring up, so my house is identical. They were built by the same builder, same style. It's an identical house as my next door neighbors, identical.
That is irrelevant.
Not identical.
No, they are identical. They're I mean, aren't there the records? They're identical. They were built by the same builder,
It
same
doesn't
year.
matter if it's the same builder. They're not identical.
All of that was done before the historic district was established. So, you know, so it is what it is. So for the purposes of this meeting,
No, I'm not trying. That my goal is I'm just trying to establish. I'm trying to make my house similar to what and again, I'm trying to preserve the integrity. I'm not. That's not. I'm just.
Then preserve the integrity of what you have, because that's.
To clarify, let me clarify, because what Dr. Shambam is referring to is that in 1998, which predated the historic district by about 6 years, the house next door to him did have some window replacements.
Yep.
That was prior to the historic district by about 6 years. Final window approval on that and final inspection was December 22nd, 1998. So that's when the last of those windows were approved. There were a couple windows that were replaced due to some kind of damage, and I recall that within the last, I want to say few years, because I don't have an exact number on that, but as I'm looking through the permits right now, that's what we come up with. So the windows that were replaced in the house that you're talking about were replaced in 1998, which is 22 years ago.
Is that a contributing resource?
It is.
Yeah. Hank, do you have at your disposal several window restoring companies that you could pass on? And do you also have any applications which illustrate the information we got where we approved window replacement?
Not readily available, but I can get that.
You have to dig it out. So
yeah, I
think Dr. Shambam might, you know, it might be to his advantage to see what was successful and what was presented in a successful application for window replacements, and then, as Martha said, perhaps restoring them would be cheaper than a whole house. Oh. Windows are very expensive, so you know it's possible.
So
I can
when we were renovating our house, before we bought the house, our inspector said all the windows are, you know, they need to be replaced. And then when we had our contract, when we were completely, they said they're not. But again, I did not have a specific restoring windows company. I had professional general contractors that renovated our whole house, and they have worked on historic houses, and they said these need to be completely and replaced. So that's kind of, but again, we can look into those companies. So
could you clarify
I'm not opposed to going that route.
Could you clarify what company told you that they were not? Are you talking about the company that did your kitchen bump out and the inside work?
Yeah, Joe, it's Trafficante.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they're not in business anymore. I'm trying to figure out what your best avenue would be here, and I can't see anything other than perhaps picking a window and trying to get some more information on that, because it sounds to me like from my opinion, I don't have enough information to render anything other than from what I've seen, that I could not recommend that it meets the standards. So if the commission is saying the same thing or echoing the same thing, and some other people still haven't weighed in on yet, I can help you with this, but there's going to be a path that I can help you with to get more information, and then proving your replacement issue is going to be up to you. But I can help you with getting the information, getting the people, even getting names of people to come out and take a look for repairs, so that you have an apples to apples comparison, you know, so you can say, okay, repair is this is what I end up with, replacement is this is what I end up with. Again, I think we're going to have trouble going down the road of double hung to casement. So I just, you know, throw that out there. I can help you with whatever it is that you would like as far as information or whatever it is. But typically with these types of cases, it's necessary to document why you're doing what you're doing. And, you know, with that, I mean, some people will even give you trim details. Do you need trim? If you're taking out a window and you're putting in a casement window, you know, does that necessitate an opening change? And if so, what then we'd have a trim size change. So those are things that happen when you're doing windows. And windows in a historic district is typically one of the most difficult things to do, and it doesn't always happen the first time when you go through.
Character defining to the.
Jim,
Yeah.
well, Jim, did you have something you wanted to say? You kept lighting up.
Yeah, I just want to weigh in really quickly. So we've been giving you a lot of our opinions and whatnot. When you come back, if you want to do this yourself, all the window manufacturers provide extensive detail information on their websites. And you could, you know, if you're going to select a window, I'd suggest bringing in, you know, the information that is exactly what you want to propose. If you're not going to do it yourself, and you're having trouble getting contractors to give you information, it might be a good time to consult an architect that does residential work for minimal effort. They could probably help you select what window might make sense. Any architect that's done work in Huntington Woods will understand the concepts that we're talking about in terms of historic renovation, and they'll be sensitive to the issues that we're kind of sensitive to here as well. So just trying to give you a little bit of advice on how to move forward, because we can't, like several have said, we can't approve something that we don't really see what it is, you know, and what we've supplied so far isn't quite enough. So just want to make sure when you come back, you're armed with the right kind of information.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I'd just like to make two very brief comments. There are two things Dr. Chambon seems to be confused about. Number one, Dr. Chambon, your house is not identical to Jules's house. Jules's house has casement windows, yours does not. So they are not identical. Second, if you stand on the sidewalk and look at your house, putting casement windows in your house would make it look different from it looks now. And that is what we intend or try to prevent. We are trying to keep the house looking as it does now. You know, and I bring these 2 points up to try to save you some grief of having to come back, because as I said before, just speaking for myself, you know, I can't speak for the other members of the commission, but speaking for myself, changing over to casement windows is absolutely a non-starter.
I've got a question. If it's as simple as that, what's the point in this commission? Like, if it's literally, it can't change, then surely Hank can just make, well, Dr. Chambon, sorry, it's a completely different type of window, so it's a no. What's the point in the commission? Why are we here to decide this? It doesn't make sense to me to even listen to this if it's an absolute, there is no, it's completely rigid. This is all you do. This is either a yes or a no because it's different or it's the same. Then I think there's absolutely no point to this commission.
I think what Mark's just expressing his own opinion, Kevin. So I don't think anything is that cut and dry. We are always case by case. We'll always make considerations, but in this one, I think we would generally, as a body, agree that a wholesale window swap out is is probably not going to get enough support on this commission. It doesn't mean that there's a cut and dry rule.
I think part of it is too, is that when you take a look at this, there are some things that we do have administrative approval over, and I have a list that I get that allows me administrative approval that we've had since we've established the Historic District Commission. And it's not just what Hank says, it's what specifically is authorized by the Historic District Commission to allow me to do. And it says window or storm replacement with done with the same material, pattern, size, and scale. And if that was what it was, they wouldn't be here. But it's not, so it is. So there are some things where it does have authorization to go ahead and be replaced with administrative approvals, but when it deviates from that, I have an obligation to bring it before the HDC, and that's why there's 9 members on the HDC, and they get to decide. That doesn't mean that there won't be different opinions, and the majority is you need 5 affirmative votes in order for anything to pass. So having said that, that's kind of where we're at, but that's the way that it is. Kevin, just so you know, there's a list of about 15 different things that we can approve administratively here in City Hall. But other than that, if it deviates from that, the reason is because that's what the HDC has determined that it goes over the edge and they'd like to look at it. So as a result, this being radically different and not being fully explained is why it's before you this evening.
Doesn't meet with the guidelines.
No, but I mean, even then, it would be like if he came in and he had wood windows and they were TDLs and they matched what was there and the stiles and rails were the same size, there was no differentiation from the appearance, he wouldn't be here this evening.
Right.
But that doesn't negate his right to come in with something else, which he has, which brings it before you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does anybody have any other comments regarding the windows? So again, like I said, more information is better than less. If we can see a sample window,
Sure.
that would be great. In lieu of that, photos with specifications and which windows will swap out for you know, the variety of the different sizes. Hank, do we need anything else? So we'll expect to see you at the October meeting?
I believe that, you know, if I can provide Dr. Shamban with a number of different things, a number of different leads, and even a number of different companies. Like Jim suggested, even if you go to the point of speaking to an architect that has any experience working in established neighborhoods, they'll be very familiar with products. Again, Peachtree, Marvin, Anderson, Pella, all have series windows that may closely replicate the windows that are there. And upon demonstration that the windows can't have to, you know, the windows need to be replaced, then, you know, that may be something that they might consider. But that's part of the thing too, is that it's not just replacement, but there's also repair that may be involved. That's things that I can't make up, you know, the doctor's mind for this. What I'd like to do is make it available for him. If he wants to come and take a look, I'm certainly happy to provide him with the Michigan Historic Preservation Network's resource guide, which has a number of window manufacturers in there, as well as a number of trades. I believe Rick alluded to Jim Turner out of Detroit,
Yep.
who has one of the most successful window restoration companies as well. So, and, you know, having somebody like that come out and look at it, where he may actually look at it and say, yeah, these windows are shot. And if that's the case, that's a considered opinion that the HDC can undertake as well. So that's another thing that may work in your favor if replacement's your ultimate goal. Having said that, I can't decide what your ultimate goal is for you, but I'm certainly happy to give you all the information you need to see that you get a fair shake at the next meeting.
Yeah.
I'd just make one additional comment, which
Sure.
goes
Steve?
back to what I originally said. There's a presumption that those windows are the original windows in the house, and it may very well be that. But at this point in time, I don't know that we've documented that at all. And I'm wondering if there's any way just to know that those are the original windows. I remember there was another house we looked at not too long ago that involved an addition, and Hank was able to go and address what was actually there originally through some original prints, and I think that it was persuasive in making us as a commission wholly feel more comfortable with the project, knowing that what we were looking at in the house currently wasn't what was there when the house was originally built. And if there's a way to easily just confirm that those are the original windows and the style of them, I think that it would make me feel more comfortable in knowing that's our baseline for evaluating this.
Okay, well, it is a contributing resource, so we have to remember that. Hank, if you can dig up any information regarding the windows on that house, whether or not they're original or replacement.
I can tell you that I show no window permit replacements for this particular house.
Okay, so then unless we have evidence the contrary, we have to assume they are the original windows.
Are there any
Well, I'll
Once
dig
again,
out the plan.
style of the house dictates the style of the window. It's a colonial.
Right, it's the style of the window. I'd just like to know if there's original.
I do know. I've lived in Huntington Woods for 61 years.
Okay, so, you know,
Okay,
here's.
So we want to replace like for like to the extent possible. So Dr. Shambin, if you can work with Hank, you know, listen, you've heard all of us talk, more information, being able to see something in person, window would be great. Hank, you know.
I will try to see if I can locate a plan. And again, I'm quite the pack rat and I keep plans from everything, as did Bonnie before me. But I think that if there is a plan and it shows the type of window that it is, then that would, if for nothing else, that might alleviate Steve's concern as to whether or not they're original windows.
Right.
Part of the assumption of the original windows too is Dr. Shamban had mentioned that the windows were at least 70 years old, which would be consistent with the original windows on the house.
I honestly, I think they're original windows, and I think that's why they're in such bad shape. We
verify that. It would help, you know, perhaps, Commissioner Behrman, you know, satisfy what he's looking at, and perhaps would help him render a decision. And it's not a big deal for me to check and see if those actually do exist.
Thank you, Hank.
Okay. So then, Dr. Shambin, we look forward to talking about your windows at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, you would
Yeah.
need a motion to table if you wanted to do that, rather than just carry it over. So you would actually need a motion to table till the
Okay.
next regular meeting.
Somebody like to make a motion to table the Shambin window replacement application till next meeting?
I can make that motion.
Thanks, Chris. Somebody second?
Second.
That's Jim. All those in favor? Louise? Aye. Aye.
Robert, I.
Mark, aye.
Martha, I.
Steve?
Chris, aye.
Steve, aye.
Jim?
Am I?
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous to table.
Quick question. How do you have that photo of my? I was trying to look back. That photo. That was
Robert.
our. Can we go back? I think that was Robert. Was his name?
Yeah.
That's my name. I just, all I did
When
was
did you take
Google
that
your-
photo? No, when did you take that photo?
All I did was Google your address and take a screenshot.
No, it's interesting because I'm trying to think how they because that tree wasn't there, and then I'm just looking back how that, and that that's when we did our renovation. So it's kind of weird that Google has that on our online. Just curious.
Robert's a magician.
I thought it was good to see what we were talking about.
I'm sorry.
I thought it was good that we could all see what we were talking about.
No. I'm just I'm impressed that Google has. I'm just impressed about that photo. That's why I saw that and I was like, that I just caught my eye again. I was like, huh. But anyways, so.
No, it's cropped and it's enhanced a little bit.
Maybe
Yeah.
Robert can show you how to do that next for the next meeting. Okay, do we have any other business, Hank?
We do not at this point, Madam Chair, and unless there's public participation, that would conclude the business that we have.
Okay, seeing that there's no public who has presented themselves on this Zoom meeting, we'll open and close public participation. Okay, that's it, folks. If I could have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Mark, and support.
Second.
Second, Jim. All those in favor? Louise? Aye.
Martha, aye.
Robert, aye.
Okay, everybody's got their hands
Aye.
up. That's unanimous. Dr. Shaman, thank you so much.
No,
and
thank you.
we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
We'll show the
thank
meeting
you.
adjourned at 8:36.
Yeah.
Good luck with your driveway.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Good night.